Welcome back. In this video, we'll be going through the essentials of managing and editing your website's custom forms. Custom forms include general contact forms, tour scheduling or interest forms, online applications for new students, job applications, donation forms, and many more. All of your website's forms are embedded on the website's pages using a shortcode, like the one shown here within the Visual Builder. The form ID in the shortcode determines which form will display on the page. Changing the form ID number within the code will switch to the corresponding form if that form exists. Forms can also be inserted directly into the module using the front-end page builder within a text module by clicking the settings icon for a text module and clicking the Add Form button. From there, we can select the desired form to insert on the page from the drop-down. We usually recommend unchecking the Display Form Title and Display Form Description boxes when inserting a form to prevent extra clutter on the page. Please keep in mind that this option to insert a form is not available in the Visual Builder, so we'll just need to copy and paste the shortcode directly into a text module for it to work in the Visual Builder. All the website's custom forms are managed under the Forms tab on the back end of the website. You can view the settings and options for each form by hovering over each form on the list. We'll cover each of the available options on the toolbar that appears. The first option is Edit, which allows you to edit the form in the Form Builder. Next, we have the Settings dropdown. On the dropdown, Form Settings takes us to a page with a list of settings for the form, including the option to change the name or button label. Next, we have the Confirmations tab, which allows you to edit the default confirmation message that appears once the form has been filled out and submitted by a visitor to your site. Simply hover over the default confirmation and click Edit to make changes to the message. You see that there is also an option to select a page or redirect to another link upon form submission, instead of displaying the confirmation message. The Notifications tab is where automatic emails triggered by a form submission are set up. Here, the most common items to edit would be the recipient email and the message. A recipient email might change in the instance if there's a staff change at the school and the default notification email needs to be changed. The rest of the notification setting fields are self-explanatory and don't usually need to be updated anyway. The Personal Data tab has some advanced options for the automatic purging of local copies of form entries and any personal data stored on the site that are collected through the forms. These options are typically off by default and can be turned on if needed. You may see some additional options under the Form Settings dropdown if the forms have certain extensions enabled, such as payment gateways. We won't be covering those in this Website Essentials course, but stay tuned for additional courses and lesson content as we release it. Back on the main Forms page, we can also see that each form has an Entries link that takes us to a page where we can view all the individual entries that were made through a particular form. This can be useful to access if you're missing an email notification of a form submission and are looking for a previous entry that was made. The next option offers the ability to preview the form. Keep in mind that previews do not include any styling, so they do not appear exactly as they would when embedded on a live page. The Duplicate option allows us to duplicate an existing form if needed, so we can do things like use it as a foundation for building another similar form. Finally, the Trash option allows us to move a form into the trash where we can then opt to permanently delete it. If you are no longer using a form, it is best to deactivate it using the toggle to the left of the field label rather than deleting it. Now, we'll cover the basics of the Form Builder that appears when you edit a form. The left panel contains all of the fields that are to be used in a form. In the right sidebar, we have all the available field types that can be dragged and dropped into the left panel to build a form. You'll notice that there are standard fields, advanced fields, post fields, and pricing fields. We usually never use post fields as they are automatically programmed to create a post based on the data entered. You may want to consider using advanced fields such as name and address to help simplify workflow instead of just using text fields for everything in your form. Once a field has been placed in the editing panel, we can move it around by first clicking on it to reveal the settings bar, and then clicking and holding on the first option to move the field around. You'll see that when you have multiple fields, you can drag and drop fields next to each other to appear in columns. The form builder supports up to 4 columns, but we don't recommend using more than 3, as it can make the form appear very condensed on a page. The toolbar also contains the option to duplicate a field, which is useful to help reduce double work on similar fields. You can also click on the settings icon to reveal all the settings and options for the selected field in the right side panel. The final option in the toolbar is the trash can icon, which is to delete the selected field. You'll want to be careful with clicking on the trash can, as there's no undo button for deleted fields. Each field has a set of settings that can be accessed by clicking on the field in the Form Builder panel on the left side. The first tab contains general settings such as the field label and a checkbox to designate the field as required. Leaving the box unchecked automatically leaves the field optional, which means users can skip that field on your form without filling it out. Under the Appearance tab, we have the option to add placeholder text and adjust field label visibility, as well as a few other settings. The Advanced tab offers the ability to add default values that would pre-fill the forms for the user, as well as make a field hidden if necessary. The Conditional Logic tab has powerful abilities to show or hide a form based on the way other fields are filled out by the user. For instance, if a user selects a certain grade level in a drop-down menu field, you could have another field set to conditionally show up to ask a question specifically pertaining to that grade level if it is selected. If you need to export multiple form entries in CSV format, you can do so by clicking the Import/Export option. All you need to do is select the fields you want to export and enter a date range for the entries, or leave the date blank to export all available entries. This concludes the lesson for managing your website's custom forms. Please stay tuned for additional lessons to learn about managing calendars, posts, and faculty and staff profiles.